My name is Cherry Parker. I'm Alana's grandmother. July the 29th, 1936.
When you were born?
The most important thing was me being born.
Oh. Okay.
Times were much worse then than they are today.
Why?
Because of the people were just not educated. They didn't have the jobs that people get today. They were a lot of them the country people, and which I was one of them, and just different reasons. They had to work to make their food as opposed to going to the store and buying it. Mitchell County, Georgia. From there, after graduating from high school, I went to Albany, Georgia to go to school, where I met my husband, Bill Parker. We got married. After living in Albany for a while, we were transferred to Meridian, Mississippi. Stayed there a couple of years due to his job, and from there, they sent us to Columbia, South Carolina. Stayed there a couple of years, and from there went back over to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and from there moved down to Orlando, Florida in 1969, and I've been living here ever since. The most exciting thing during my childhood was being outside, following my daddy everywhere he went outside. I loved outside more so than inside. I was a tomboy. I enjoyed getting my slingshot and rock and going to the woods and shooting at birds, although I never hit them. And then as I graduated and got a little older, they let me have an air rifle. I did the same thing with that. And finally I got a horse, and I would stay on that horse every chance Mother and Daddy would let me. Never come in the house unless I had to. I can't say it was the worst thing. It was one of the worst things. I got a lot of common sense out of it, I guess. As a child, coming up through my teenage years, we lived on a farm. I would work in the field doing different field chores, which taught us a lot about growing the vegetables and whatever we grew and harvesting them and taking them to the market. To give birth to my two children, Chris and Denny. And in addition to that, Chris and Cindy having my grandchildren, Natalie, Alana, and Dylan, which is the apple of my eye. And it just keeps growing. First president I remember, I think, was around 1941, was President Roosevelt. Being from the country in a small town and not elevated in my education with all the technologies coming out nowadays, that's hard for me to learn how to do and don them. And my grandchildren tried to help me, but it comes in one ear and goes out the other. I can't retain it. But that is hard. My grandparents, I never knew my granddaddy on my mother's side. He died before. But I knew my Grandma Woods and Grandpa Woods on my daddy's side. The last thing I remember about them was my grandmother was sick in bed and we went to visit her. And I can't remember. I remember my granddaddy Woods. I believe he had a big mustache. And I remember my grandmother Shiver, my mother's mother. She was next to a mother to me. And I loved her as much as I did my mother, I think. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But she was a good woman, not just to me. She was good to everybody. She would make her younger children go out during the drought and draw well from the well water with a bucket and chain for people's cows who were thirsty, that didn't even belong to her, that would come up and be thirsty. She'd give money that she didn't have to people and do without herself, even food sometimes. That was a good woman. Uh, I always help other people who needed help more than I did, be honest, and never take anything that didn't belong to you, even if you found it on the street or on the floor. I always tried to find out who it belonged to and give it back to them. Something that you should avoid is your friends, your peer group. Always pick the good peer group and never hang around with anyone who smokes, drinks, or does drugs. My greatest fear has always been water. As a teenager, I almost got drowned, I guess, one time. That's the reason I still hold this in my past. But from then on, I've been afraid of water, except in the bathtub or shower. I don't like water getting over my face, so I can't breathe, and it just horrifies me. I can't even swim to this date. I can't really think of anything that I'll have different from my life. Everything happened in my life I have grown from. And if it happened, good or bad, it was for a reason, and I understood it, and it taught me. I had a good marriage, good children, and now my grandchildren. So it's been perfect. I guess one of the main advices that I could give you is to stay in school, get a good education, and you grow from that. Always, as we've talked about before, be honest, grateful for the things that you have, appreciate it, and of course honor your parents, go to church, and live a good Christian life.